The truth is out there. Knowledge is power. This is the Prepper Podcast Radio Network.
Are you sick and tired of having your First Amendment harassed or censored on Facebook? Use no more, as we now have a new alternative to Facebook. It's called Awareness Act. Awareness Act is a social network designed for patriots, to be used by patriots, and is ran by patriots. Stand up and help in the fight to protect your constitutional rights. Patriots can create pages, blogs, videos, documents, articles, and so much more. We even have a unique news feed system that allows you to share, read, or connect with any patriot on Awareness Act. We are a dedicated tool for patriots to use against the tyranny our Constitution is facing. So if you're tired of having your rights infringed upon, come check us out at www.awarenessact.com. Again, that is www.awarenessact.com, the social network for patriots, not potatoes.
Whether you take me for the fool, I know that I can be. Whether you see me eye to eye.
Are you storing food? Many preppers are storing food for months and years, but only have enough fuel stored for days or weeks. Stretch your fuel storage by harnessing the power of the sun with a sun oven. Food can be baked, boiled, or steamed at temperatures of 360 to 400 degrees Fahrenheit with the power of the sun. Depending on where you are located, you can use the sun for 50 to 80% of your cooking, allowing you to preserve your fuel storage for rainy days. Sun-baked foods stay moister and have less shrinkage and don't burn. Sun-baked roasts are tastier and more succulent, and sun-baked bread has unparalleled taste and texture. Water can be heated in a sun oven for purification or personal hygiene. For the past 25 years, sun ovens have been proudly made in the U.S. They are durable, have a long life, and come with a 100% satisfaction guarantee. For a discount coupon, email podcast@sunoven.com. That's podcast@sunoven.com.
Have you ever wanted to generate your own supply of electrical power, even save money on your electric bill? If so, this is going to be the most important message you will ever hear. Solar power generators are now available. These emergency backup systems provide life-saving electrical power when you need it most. Unlike gas generators, a solar generator runs quietly, emits no fumes, and produces electricity from the sun. It's like having an electric power plant running quietly in your own home. Run sump pumps, shortwave radios, computers, and even keep your food from spoiling. Whether it's hurricanes, ice storms, brownouts, or blackouts, you'll never suffer through painful power outages again. And here's the best news. A remarkable fall truckload sale going on right now that gets you $1,700 in bonuses when you buy a solar generator. To find out why solar generators are the best generators and get $1,700 for doing so, go to falltruckloadsale.com. That's falltruckloadsale.com. Generate your own supply of electricity. Go to falltruckloadsale.com. That's falltruckloadsale.com.
This is KPRN-DB, broadcasting worldwide from Southeast Oklahoma, USA, to parts unknown.
Today is October 28, 2012, and you're listening to The Soul Survivor. As we begin today's broadcast, I want to give a special shout-out to all of the folks that are in the way of Tropical Storm / Hurricane Sandy, I think it is called. I hope you're prepared. I hope you are ready for what may be coming your way, because I really do not think the National Weather Service is firmly aware of what may be taking place. I certainly don't know. I'm not a weatherman. I'm not a meteorologist, but I think this thing has got so much potential that National Weather Service meteorologists don't really know what to prepare people for. So, with that being said, I hope you've made precautions. I hope you've taken precautions and made preparations, I guess is what I'm trying to say. You may be without power. You may be in the cold. You may be wet. Do you have adequate food? Do you have warm blankets? Do you have alternate heat sources if you need them? Do you have medical supplies and some knowledge to use them and skill sets to use them? I hope so. I really do. Because my thoughts and my prayers will be going out to the folks that are impacted by this storm. Here in the Blue Ridge Mountains, it looks like we're going to miss the brunt of it. I think it's wetting around us. However, we are preparing for some unseasonably cold weather, some high winds tonight. We stand a chance ourselves of being without electricity by morning. There are high wind warnings in effect for the area that I live in. And some of the areas west and north of me, there is actually a freeze warning in effect for tonight, and they have actually gone as far as to forecast a significant chance of snow by Monday night, Tuesday, somewhere in that window. Of course, all of that is potential to change depending upon what happens with this storm. So my suggestion is buckle down, get ready, prepare for the worst, pray for the best, and trust God to see you through it, because He can and He will. He will take care of you. He will take care of His own. So remember your prayers, and remember other preppers are praying for you. Disaster relief teams are standing by, waiting for a call out when the first impact comes. And just as soon as it is safe for relief teams to be in your area, I know they will be. So just hang in there. And if you haven't taken prepping seriously, maybe this will be a wake-up call. You know, contrary to what the liberals would have you believe, preppers are not gun-toting, government-hating survivalists. We are people who have enough forethought and foresight to prepare ourselves for situations and circumstances that may affect our lives and the lives of our families. And storms like this is certainly one of those things. So we hope that you are prepared. We hope that you are ready. We hope that you've taken this seriously. And just hang in there and understand there are people that care about you. There are people that are praying for you, and there are people that are prepared to come in and give assistance to those that have need of it and the aftermath. So with that said, we are going to move ahead with our broadcast on prepping on a budget and sensible prepping as well. We have covered, I hope, in the past couple of weeks, some things that will help you. And as a sideline to this, I will be putting some things on my YouTube channel about prepping on a budget. And as such, be watching and be paying attention to those. That is Prepper's Pastor on the YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube, go into their search engine, not your browser search engine. Of course, you can probably get there as well. Type in Prepper's Pastor, and you should come to or have a link come up to my YouTube channel. And on there are some, what I have been told, and I hope they are, informative and helpful videos already established and put up. Also there, it is the Prepper's Pastor channel and Soul Survivor Radio. So Soul Survivor Radio does not go without mention. This has become a mainstay in my prepping philosophy and mentality, and in the outreach that I have to the prepping world. I am thankful that it has came my way, and I'm thankful that it is being used by God to reach out to the prepping community and to those around with not only the good news of Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior, not only with biblical prophecy and how it affects prepping and how we need to incorporate it into our prepping, and the incorporation of our faith in prepping. So Soul Survivor Radio is a culmination of common sense prepping through faith, family, and freedom. And we certainly do thank those men and women in uniform who are protecting our freedoms worldwide today. Our hat goes off to them, and we certainly appreciate every contribution and every sacrifice that they make for us. So as we move into today's program, we are at PPRN. There is a food giveaway, or a series of food giveaways, and other giveaways. There will be, I understand, at least one firearm involved in that, and other things coming up. It is starting in November with a food giveaway, a Thanksgiving food giveaway. And I will be posting on the Preppers Pastor YouTube channel a link that will take you to the registration page for that giveaway. So if you listen to Soul Survivor Radio and you have the opportunity, go there, register for this food giveaway, and I will be giving notice of other giveaways as they come available. So that should be posted sometime this afternoon and evening on the Preppers Pastor YouTube channel and Soul Survivor Radio YouTube channel. They are one and the same. So go there, look it up, and be prepared to register, and good luck to each one of you as you register to win this nice food giveaway. So as we move into the continuation of prepping on a budget, we have been covering some different food items and how to use them on a budget, how to apply it on a budget, because times are hard for a lot of folks right now, and I certainly have lived through some hard times myself recently. So I know what it's like to have to try to prep on a budget. We've covered a lot of different things over the last couple of weeks, and if you haven't been with us, I want to encourage you to go back over the past, at least the last two broadcasts, and listen to some of the things that we have tried to share and see if some of it may be pertinent to you. Because we believe that while we are not an expert at any given thing when it comes to prepping, we are certainly willing to share what has worked for us, and we are certainly willing to share how it worked and the benefits of having it. So we have looked at different food storage techniques. We have looked at purchasing. We've looked at how to purchase. We've looked at several different things thus far. We want to talk about today some items that may not have come to your mind about prepping. First of all, salt. Have you thought about salt? Salt is not an expensive item, but salt is a very necessary item, necessary for preserving meat. Salt is necessary for medical purposes. It's used to cleanse wounds. It's painful, but it does work. It's used in a lot of different applications. You should buy about 20 or 30 pounds of salt for a year's supply. Keep it in a relatively dry location, though, because salt will draw moisture, and as it does, it will clump. Now, in most cases, unless it just gets saturated and supersaturated with water, you're able to bust it apart and regranulate it and still use it. But nonetheless, it will clump together if it gets damp. So the drier you can keep it, the better off you are. Different kinds of salts need to be considered as well, not just table salts. How about rock salts? How about different things like that? Any type of salt that you can think of. Buy some. If you can buy some extra and put it back, it'd make a great barter item in case there are some worst case scenarios that play out and you need to be able to live in an alternate economy for a while. You will have some barter items. Any of the things that we talk about when it comes to food especially are excellent barter items to have. For meats, for example, we talked about the little small 1-pound canned hams, Spam, treat, the lunch meat type things with that. They're always good items. You have canned chicken, canned tuna. You have it in the foil packages. Those are always good items to have some extras on hand if you can. If you can. But always remember what comes first is you and your family. Ideally, prepping wants to focus on the big picture. 1 year's worth of food supply. Don't get overwhelmed thinking about 1 year worth of food. Think about 3 days. Think about 3 weeks. Think about 3 months. Then think about 6 months, 9 months, and 12 months. Once you reach a 3-month plateau, then all you have to do is think about repeating it. Repeat it 1 time and you've got 6 months. Repeat it 2 times and you have 9 months. Repeat it 3 more times and you've got 1 year. So don't look at it again as a great big 1-year picture. Look at it as 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months, and establish it from there. Okay, another food. This is something that a lot of people don't think about. How about infant formulas and baby foods? Now, you say, well, I don't have children, I don't have grandchildren, I don't have it, and great. That's great. But again, if you're in an area where there are infants and young children, you may want to think about buying some of this and setting it aside, if nothing else, just to have an item to help out in charity. After all, a lot of older folks that have nutritional problems, that have problems eating solid food, can be fed baby food. And they can get the nutritional equivalent from baby food as they can pureed foods or things of that nature. So you may have an elderly person in your family that may be able to actually eat the upper stage 3 and stage 4 type baby foods, and instead of having to worry about pureeing or mashing foods for them where they can get them, where they can eat them or digest them, it may be better just to look at some of the baby foods and something along that level. Baby formulas are always something good if you've got the ability to put back some of these for some charity or to help out some folks in your area that may not be prepared. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm sure God will bless your efforts in that endeavor. Also, some things to think about as alternatives for infant formula. If you've got infant formula and or you need a base to make some infant formula with, or some things to mix it with, or supplements for that, you might consider evaporated milk, dried milk, sweetened condensed milk, goat's milk. They can be important for children between 6 months and 1 year of age. You could help nutritionally with these infants and with these small children by having some of this. So, think about the selection process. Think about the infants that may be in your area. And if you do have infants and small children, what about storing the formulas and the baby foods? Actually, storing infant formula and baby food is relatively easy. Infant foods are one of a few areas in which the federal government regulates shelf life labeling. All containers of infant formula and baby food should have a clear best used by or something worded similar to that date somewhere on the container. And it's generally longer than the child will require such food. So, in other words, it's going to be 2 or 3 years. So by the time the shelf life expires, that child will be old enough to not need it anymore. So you're not going to have to worry about a lot of rotation out of that. By the time it comes time to rotate it out, the child is probably going to not need it anymore. Now, unopened containers of formula need to be stored the same way you would store dry milk. They need to be in a dark, cool, dry place, and by all means, use them before the expiration date is reached. Now, if you have open containers of dry formula powder, it should be used within 1 month of opening, and the contents should be kept, again, bone dry, cool, and in a dark, dry place. Now, if any unopened containers haven't been needed by the expiration date, and it begins to get near, you may want to donate it to someone that may be able to use it. Again, don't wait till it goes out. If it goes out of expiration, get rid of it. Okay? But if it's getting near, say you're within a couple of months away and your child no longer needs it, then don't let it go to waste. Give it to someone or give it to a bank or somewhere, a food bank or something of that nature that would be able to help. You know, don't let it go. It's worth too much and it has too much to offer to an infant. Okay. Let's talk about a food group that gets a lot of attention from the prepping community, and if you're not careful, you can wind up spending a lot of money and getting very little food, and you can do it very quickly. This food group is a dehydrated, freeze-dried MRE type with food bars and those type of foods and things of that nature. They are very lightweight, and most of these, if not all of these items, require water to prepare them. These foods have a very long shelf life. Dehydration of foods can and usually do affect the nutritional value and taste. However, these foods are not easily spoiled. These are expensive, so be aware of that along with taste and appearance. Now you could go to just about any gun show and you could pick up a case of MREs relatively cheap. But with the popularity of prepping and the popularity of getting the MREs, the price has skyrocketed. As a matter of fact, I would hesitate to recommend anyone specifically going in search of cases of MREs. If you can find somewhere where you've got a little extra money and you want to buy a couple of them to keep on hand for emergency situations or to keep in a vehicle for emergency situations, I think that's fine. In reality, you can make your own MRE, and we're going to get into that hopefully before the end of this broadcast, okay? An MRE is a meal ready to eat. It became popular with the United States military. It can be eaten right from the pouch that it is stored in without any preparation. Some people that have eaten MREs can't stand them. Some people have, they really like them. Others, it depends on the dish or the type of food that they're talking about. They require no or very little water to prepare them, though. Considering the amount of food you get, they are very expensive. They are convenient, though. The reason they're convenient, they come enclosed in a very heavy vinyl pouch. I think it's vinyl. It's a vinyl or some type of plastic. Anyhow, it is very, very heavy, and it is very difficult to puncture or to tear. I'm not saying they can't be punctured, but I'm saying it's difficult. It takes a knife or something of that nature. They can be heavy. So if you're planning on or thinking about going out and buying a case of MREs and stocking your bug out bag with them, you can do that, but they're going to be heavy, and you're going to have to be able and willing to hike that weight around, okay? There are options, like I said, of putting together your own MREs, and we're going to get into some of that. Now, there is some things also out there called emergency food bars. They are compact, they're convenient, they're lightweight. They do have a limited nutritional value, though. They are relatively cheap. They're not a satisfying substitute for a hot meal. Their shelf life is limited, so they're not adequate for a long-time use. They can be useful in a temporary situation, and some can take exposures, high heat, high temperatures. I think the Coast Guard has got a fruit-flavored nutrition bar that has a very long shelf life. I've told that they're not very palatable, but you can keep them forever and a day and not have a problem with them. And they are built to withstand some rugged environments because they are on sea-going vessels. So, there's another option or an opportunity for you. You can find those. You can find them on the Internet. You can find MREs on the Internet as well. And by the way, when we talk about MREs, there is a civilian version of an MRE, and they are just as, if not more expensive than the military versions. By rights, the military versions you're not supposed to be able to get those, but like anything else, somewhere along the line, somebody is able to get their hands on it and make it available. So if you're willing to pay for it and you're wanting it bad enough, it's out there. Now, when we look at MREs again, it includes more than the modern military rations. It does involve the civilian equivalent. So when I'm using the word MRE, I'm talking about both of them, okay? They're typically marketed by two major MRE contractors, and there's a number of other products on the civilian market that fit better into this category than others. But over the last several years, the number of self-contained meals that are available in either the new style flexible pouches or the old metal cans have greatly increased. Now, the old style metal cans, if I remember right, were called sea rations. It's hard to find any of those anymore. And when you do, they're going to be way out of date, because the last time I think those were in use were in the late 70s or early 80s. So, and it may have went a little farther than that, and they may be making a comeback. I don't know, but I know there are some that were at one time produced in metal cans. So we're not going to be able to cover all of the variants of MREs in this little segment, but I just want you to be aware that MREs are out there, and being able to produce your own MRE is out there, okay? So when we look at producing your own MRE, that's probably the cheapest and most cost-effective way of doing it. Now, what do you like to eat? Now, only you can answer that question for you and your family. Some families have really no ideal preference. In other words, they're like me. There's not much that's put in front of them that they won't eat. Okay? They have their preferences, like most everyone does. But when it comes right down to it, if they can't have their preference, it's no big deal. Okay. Now, if you go to your I'm going to call them dollar stores, okay? In our area, there are several different variations of this. There are Family Dollar stores, Dollar General stores, Dollar Trees, Mighty Dollars. There are a lot of different dollar stores in this area, and I'm sure wherever you're at, there are many different variations of a dollar store as well. But when we go there, I can walk through their food section, and I can get pouches of tuna or salmon. Is one pouch one serving or two? That's up to you and your family. How much will you eat at any one given time? But one pouch of this has a shelf life of 2 to 3 years, okay? You can get one of those. You may find some You can buy MRE style crackers that are set aside. You could put that in there. You can buy pouches or packages of peanut butter that are sealed and put that in there. There are anything that has a shelf life of a couple of years. You can package it together and then put it in a vacuum sealer. Again, that will be your greatest investment as a prepper, will be a vacuum sealer, one that does bags as well as does jars. That will be the greatest investment that you make toward the food stores for your family, because anything that you buy you can seal in this vacuum sealer, and you can greatly extend and prolong the life expectancy of it. And you can make these, if you're doing MREs with these, you can make them as large or as small as you want to make them. And again, the shelf life of these is going to be dependent on the spoilage dates that are on the products that you put in there. I mentioned the fish. You can also buy Spam in the individual aluminum packages, just the foil packages, and it has a 2 or 3 year shelf life on it. You take one package of that and you take a box of macaroni and cheese, take the packages out of the macaroni and cheese, take it out of the box where it will lay flat, put it in there, put it in an MRE with one piece of Spam, and find something else, a piece of peppermint candy, butterscotch candy, something like that, put in there, drop a plastic fork in there with it or something of that nature, vacuum seal it. You have a meal. You have a meal right there for 1 or 2 people. Whip up the macaroni and cheese, slice up the Spam, drop it in there, cook it up with it. In one meal, you've got meat, you've got protein, carbohydrates, you've got some dairy product, all in one package. So this is only limited by your creativity and by what you and your family will choose to eat. So don't limit yourself. It's only limited by your personal limitations. Again, and other things you have to do, you have to consider any health concerns someone may have. If someone in your family is limited or is on a special diet, then you may have to look and be a little more creative about what you do from that special diet, but still, you can make this work. You can do the MREs. You can do a homemade MRE, store it in a shelf or put it in your bug out bags, put it in your readiness kits inside of your vehicles, things of that nature, and you're good to go. You're really good to go with it. Okay, let's talk a little bit about freeze-dried food. And freeze-dried foods are typically expensive, and they do have a rather long shelf life, though. I would recommend, when you can afford it and as you can afford it, buy some of these. And one of the best places to buy individual ones are at places like Walmart, Costco, places like these that have a camping supply section. Go to that camping supply section and you can get the freeze-dried foods there. Coleman makes a variation of them. Other companies do. And they'll sell them right there, and you can buy a main course. You can even buy a whole meal like the hamburger helper style meals, except these are all freeze-dried. In one thing, you just open it up, add water, heat it, and you're good to go. You can eat it right out of the bag if you want to. So, again, they're expensive. These are good for a quick grab-and-go type situation. If you're going to be in a situation where you're settled into your home, you would not want to eat these, and you would not want to eat the MREs. What you would want to do with those is have those ready in case you have to go in a hurry. And if you have to leave, you're not going to be able to take all of the heavy, bulky stuff. So you're going to have something that would be lighter, that would be easier to grab, and that would be more friendly for travel. And that's what you would want the MREs for, and that is what you would want the freeze-dried foods for. I mentioned Coleman, Mountain House, and Wise Foods are others that do a great job with the dehydrated foods. So, you want to look at and consider all of that as you work toward your prepping plan. Again, the greatest benefit you are going to have and your family will have as far as saving money and prepping on a budget is planning. If money is tight, as it is with most of us, think, talk, plan, and then act. Don't be caught up in the sales pitches of Billy Bob's Quick Stop. Don't be caught up in that. Think, plan, and act. Talk it over. Talk it over with your spouse. Find out what works for y'all, for your situation, for where you live. You may live in an urban setting in an apartment, and you may not have a whole lot of storage space. So it's important that you make good with the storage space that you have. So the more compact you can have your food stores, the better you are. The more you can get, the more you can put aside. It will do you no good to have a lot of stuff laying around if you don't have somewhere to put it. It does you no good to rent a storage building on the other side of town to put your stuff in, and then something happens and you can't get to it. So you have to think through all possible avenues. The shelf expectancy, how mobile is it? Is it something that I'm going to be able to take with me or something that's going to have to be left behind? How long am I wanting to prepare for? Is this for my 3 days? Is this for my 3 weeks? Is this for my 3 months? And how is it going to fit into my rotation schedule? Okay. What about food grade packaging? Now, we've went over different foods and the storage lives and some of the strategies involved. We've talked about being frugal, planning, thinking before you act. So you've done this. You've put all of this into practice. Now you're ready to start a program. Now you're ready to start food storage. What are you going to put it in? You should use something recognized and approved as food grade packaging. Anything that you plan on eating, it needs to be stored in something that is planned as food and set up and understood to be food grade packaging. Now, a food grade container is a container that will not transfer noxious or toxic substances into the food that is being stored in it. If you're not certain whether a package type is food grade, ask. If you're buying it new. If you're buying a 5-gallon bucket or a 2-gallon bucket and you don't know if that's a food grade bucket, go ask someone. If they don't know, don't buy it until you find out. Okay, and we're going to get to, that's got a caveat to it. So we're going to get to that just a little while. But for right now, don't buy it unless you know. Okay? When you're talking about or inquiring about food grade storage, you need to understand the characteristics of the food that you're storing. Is it going to be wet or dry? Is it going to be acidic or alkaline? Is it going to have alcohols in it, or is it going to have a high fat content in it? A container that is approved for one of the above may not be approved for another. So you need to know and be able to determine by either asking or looking yourself, what can I put in this container? If I can't put it in the container as is, what can I put it in and then put that in the container? There are a lot of ways to go around this, okay? We'll cover some angles. We're going to cover some angles to kind of take the difficulty out of it for you, okay? Now, the major functions of a food storage container are, number one, to protect its contents from outside environmental influences such as moisture and oxygen, possibly even hot or cold. It may need to protect it from light or insects or even rodents. Number two, it should prevent damage during handling and shipping. In other words, it should be durable enough to be able to pick it up, throw it in the back of a truck, and take off with it if you need to. Number three, it should establish and or maintain some type of microbiological stability. In other words, the container should not allow microorganisms such as fungus and bacteria from outside to come in contact with the food on the inside. Now, this is important especially to wet pack foods such as canned vegetables, fruits, and meats. The last thing you want is for the food inside to be contaminated by something on the outside. Pardon me. Now, number four, containers should be able to withstand temperatures and pressure. And we're going to be exposing these to temperatures and pressure. Don't kid yourself about that. This is particularly important if the contents are to be pasteurized or sterilized, either before or after filling. It must not have any structural failures, no holes, no cracks, no weak spots or soft spots. Nor should it be able again to release any noxious or toxic chemicals. Remember, four things that a food storage container should do. Should protect its contents. It should prevent damage during handling. It should be microbiologically safe. It should be able to withstand temperatures and pressures. So keep those four things in mind when you're looking at something to store your food in. Now, why are canning jars not recommended for home canning and mayonnaise jars or not? We have a lot of times you can still find mayonnaise in glass jars, and they look just like a quart canning jar. I mean, after all, a quart jar is a quart jar, right? Wrong. Canning jars are heavier. They're made of a thicker glass to withstand high temperatures. Mayonnaise jars are not, and they increase the risk of breakage when they're used for that purpose. If you use mayonnaise jars, you may get a good seal at first. Things may look just great and just terrific, and then all at once, while it's sitting on a shelf, pop, the bottom breaks out of the jar. It would be horrible to go downstairs or to go open up the door to your pantry and to see a dozen jars of your favorite fruits or vegetables literally pouring down the front of your pantry and into the floor because the bottom busted out of the jar. Just because you wanted to save a buck. Sometimes, now, understand, if you've got the money to spend and you don't spend it, that's not being frugal. That's being cheap. And I'm not promoting being cheap. I'm promoting being smart. For no more than a box of canning jars cost, it's only smart to buy the canning jar to do the canning in, and don't rely on the mayonnaise jars. If you want to use mayonnaise jars for storage, great. Keep them, wash them, set them back, use them for some other type of storage that's not going to be this important. But for food storage, especially for canning, do not use mayonnaise jars or anything like a mayonnaise jar, because the ones that are on the market today are not the same quality as the ones your grandmother used. They're just not. They don't need to be. All right. Where do we find food-grade containers? Actually, there's food-grade containers everywhere. Anytime you go into a grocery store, you're surrounded by them. Many companies like Tupperware and Rubbermaid manufacture and sell in empty packaging for the purpose of repackaging food. In other words, they sell food-grade containers. They manufacture food-grade containers. Now, the kind of container you're interested in and the types of food that you want to put in it will dictate where you need to look. For food storage purposes, many people are usually interested in 5 or 6 gallon plastic pails. Certain recycled plastic containers such as soda or juice bottles, glass jars from half pint to gallon, and Mylar or other high barrier property plastics are good. They can be used for a lot of different things. And you need to think about those. You need to think about recycling them. Plastic food grade pails, for instance, are very, very easily obtained by going to some of your grocery stores that have delis, some of your restaurants, and ask them. A lot of times they just throw them away. And if you can get food grade containers from them that are still structurally sound, they're not damaged, and you can wash them out, set them outside, and let them air out a little bit, and then buy lids, food grade lids that go on them, you've got a great storage there that you've got just about nothing in. So there's a food grade container. A Mylar bag is very good. Now, here are some things about Mylar bags. They offer a lot of protection against oxygen. They're liquid tight. Everything. The only thing they're not a good physical protection. They don't give a lot of good physical protection. So you can get a 6-gallon Mylar plastic bag, set it inside of a 5-gallon plastic bucket. It doesn't have to be food grade if you're going to use the Mylar bag, just strong enough to provide physical protection. Okay? Set it in there, put your food inside the Mylar bag, whatever it may be, whatever you're trying to protect and whatever you're trying to preserve, put it in there, and have a clothes iron, an electric clothes iron. Take, if it's something like grain or rice or beans, throw an oxygen absorber or 2 in there. Close it up, mash all the air out of it. Find an old board, a scrap board that will lay across the top of the bucket. Fold the Mylar bag over the board and take your iron and run it along the edge, the sharp edge of the board until it seals the Mylar. Trim it, roll it up and push it into the top of the bucket, snap the bucket on it, and then label it or write on it with a magic marker or a Sharpie what's in it, and write the date on it so that you know when you put it in there. That way you know when you go back to it and you open that Mylar bag, you have the ability to look at that, you know what date it is, you know how long it's been in there, and you know how you're able to work with it and deal with it from there. Now, there are a couple of different polymers that are out there, but understand the HDPE is a typical standard off-the-shelf bucket, okay? HDPE is good if you're going to be looking for food grade that's going to store grains or something like that in it. That's your typical food grade bucket, okay? Now there's another one that's a PETE, peat or PET plastic, and that's the same type of plastic that's used to make soda, juice, water bottles. When they're properly cleaned, then they can be reused for certain things. Again, it all comes back to knowing what you're going to use it for, what it's approved for, and make sure that you're going to be helping yourself and not hurting yourself. Now, here is something that a lot of preppers get. They'll go to a fast food restaurant and they'll get food buckets and they'll get a pickle bucket. All right, you got a pickle bucket, and it still smells like pickles. Well, the last thing you want to do is put your beans or your rice or your grain in a bucket and seal it up, and then 6 months to a year later open it, and everything smells like pickles. You want to get that odor out of there. All right, here's Here is a little thing that maybe will help you along. Scrub the bucket inside and out with dish detergent. Your favorite type of dish detergent will do. Then fill the bucket with hot water and dissolve a cup of baking soda in it. Stir it up real well. Get the bucket as full as you can, and then put a top on it. Set that bucket in the sun to keep it warm so that the pores will open up. You want to get those plastic pores open as much as possible. In a couple of days, come back and empty the bucket, rinse it out, fill it back up with warm water again, and add about a cup of bleach. Just any type of household bleach. Then reseal it. Put it back in the sun for another 2 or 3 days. Empty it out again and let it dry with the top completely off of it, and you should be rid of your vinegar smell. If you do still smell it, go back and start repeating this stuff over again. Start with the hot water and the baking soda. Let it set in the sun, this time a little longer than you did last time. After a few days, empty it out, rinse it out, fill it up with warm water again, and do the bleach and reseal it for another few days. You know, when we're talking about scavenging to get things done at a cheaper rate, we have to apply patience and common sense to this. We're going to have to work, and we're going to have to work harder if we're going to do it cheaper. You can go to one of your home improvement centers, and you can buy a clean food-grade bucket with a food-grade lid for $6. So, do you have the $6 to spend? If you do, spend it and get on with your preps. If you don't have the $6 or you want to save the $6 for something else, get your buckets. If you wind up with a pickle bucket and you want to use it, this will help you get through the odor. Otherwise, you may be making yourself susceptible to that odor. You can buy Mylar bags just about anywhere. Any of your prepper or food supply stores will have Mylar bags now. You can get them online if you want. They're relatively easy to pick up online. Just put in an order, go from there, and get the size that you want. Sometimes it's easier if you just go to a local prepper store or an outdoor store or some store that sells this stuff, because the shipping now, look at shipping when you're ordering stuff. A friend of mine and I, we're looking at going in together on a case of MRE crackers, just regular saltine type crackers. But they were sealed in an MRE type packaging, which would give them a long shelf life. The cost wasn't much. We were both very willing to pay the cost. But when we looked at the shipping, it was going to cost just about as much to ship the item as it was to purchase the item. Well, we weren't willing to pay that. The shipping turned us off. So we both said we'll keep an eye on the gun shows, the outdoor shows, the prepper shows, and things that were coming around the area. And if we found them there at a reasonable price without having to pay the extravagant shipping, we would. UPS, FedEx, the Postal Service, all of those are very proud of the service they give right now, and they are getting top dollar for it. So understand the need of shipping when you're ordering stuff. Also, let's take just a few minutes. Let's see how much time we've got left. We've got about 10 minutes left on this broadcast, so let's talk a little while. Pardon me. Let me get something to drink. Wet my whistle just a little bit here. Let's talk a little bit about oxygen absorbers, and then let's talk about moisture absorbers or desiccants. Both of those can be very important when preparing food or putting food or food substances into storage. Oxygen absorbers do exactly what they say. Anytime you pack something, dry pack it, anytime you store it in a Mylar bag or in a food bucket, it doesn't matter how tightly you compress it, there's air that's trapped in it. And one of the tricks to ensuring long life in food is to get the air out of it. So, whenever you package something, have an oxygen absorber. We buy small oxygen absorbers in our house. The reason being, we can always put multiple oxygen absorbers in a large container, but if we have large oxygen absorbers, we may not be able to get them in a small container. So we will buy them, and they're about $0.10 a piece. You get them about 10 for $1 of the small ones. And whenever we're going to seal something up and it needs to be protected from oxygen, we'll drop 1 or 2 or however many is necessary in there. And push out all the air that we can, and any trapped air then, as it is released and goes to the top, it's absorbed by those oxygen absorbers. It may not get 100% of it, but it will remove enough of it where it will give you some reasonable shelf life. That's important. That's very important. Now with desiccants absorb moisture. Now you can pick up desiccants out of a lot of electronic devices and different things such as that are in there to keep moisture out of them or condensation out of the packaging and keep it from ruining the device. Here's the neat thing about desiccants. As they get older and as they draw moisture and they begin to get full, most of them will turn a yellowish color. And as they turn that yellowish color, or sometimes it may even be a bluish color, but they will turn a color. And as the closer they get to that color, the more moisture they have absorbed. So, what do? Throw them away? No. Put them on a cookie sheet. Put them on a cookie sheet, put them in a 350-degree oven, and watch them as the color changes back to a white. Then flip them over and do the same thing on the other side. What you want to do, you don't want to roast them. You don't want to burn them. But what you want to do is get them hot enough to basically evaporate the moisture from inside of them, and it resets them and it lets them be used again. And you can do this several times. Eventually, they won't do that, and you'll have to throw them away and replace them. But understand, don't throw these things away. When you get desiccant material out of electronics and everything, and anything else that it may come in for that matter, keep it. Keep it and reuse it. That's important. That's a big part of saving money as a prepper. It's understanding how to reuse, recycle, and rejuvenate things that most people just throw away. It's learning the skills necessary to reuse these things and make them profitable in your prepping. See, surviving and prepping and things of that nature is not as much what you have as it is what you know. So the more you know, the less that you have to have, and the more food that you can have, the more of anything else that you can have as you move forward in it. So I hope that this series on prepping on a budget and frugal prepping has been a help to you, and it is being a help to you. Now again, as we sign off and as we close out the broadcast for this week, I want to remind you about the Thanksgiving food giveaway at PPRN. Again, come to my YouTube channel, Preppers, Pastor, and Soul Survivor Radio. Preppers, Pastor is all you need to punch in. Type that into the YouTube search engine or type that into your favorite search engine, whatever it may be, and it should bring up somewhere in there a link to my YouTube channel. And this afternoon I will have a link on there so that you can go to the registration page, put your name in the hat, and hopefully you'll get this food giveaway. Keep listening, because as PPRN continues to move with their sponsors and create new opportunities, there's going to be more giveaways. And these things are going to get really, really good. The food is real good as it is, but it's going to get better. So hang with us and let us keep listening. Keep listening to Soul Survivor Radio, and we will get you involved in all of these programs that you want to be involved with, and in all these giveaways that you want to be involved with, because we're all about prepping. We are preppers. Like I said earlier, We may not be experts at anything, but we are experienced in a lot of things, and we are seasoned in many. Friends, I hope that your prepping is coming along very well. I hope things are going good for you and for your family. If you're in danger of this hurricane or tropical storm and the aftermath of it merging with others in this superstorm they're calling it, take care of yourself. Be safe. Take care of your family. I hope you're prepped and I hope you're ready for it. Our prayers are with you. We hope, as always, you know Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. He is the greatest preparation that any of us can have. He is the greatest tool that a prepper can have in their toolbox and in their arsenal, is that eternal relationship with Jesus Christ. Well, friends, our time has came and gone this week. We want you to know that we care about you. We want you to know that we're praying for you. We're here to help. If you want to email us, prepperspastor@frontier.com. That's prepperspastor@frontier.com. Until next week, God bless you is our prayer.